You do not belong here, and everyone in this gymnasium knows it. The words come from Meredith Ashford, 17 years old, daughter of the man whose name is on the hospital wing downtown and the library at the university and the scholarship fund that none of the students at Westbrook Academy actually need, because everyone who attends Westbrook Academy already has more money than most families will see in 3 generations. She stands in the center of the dance floor in a dress that costs $4,000, custom-made, flown in from a designer in Milan, whose name she drops casually because dropping names is the currency of her world, and she has never been poor in any currency that matters. Her friends form a semicircle behind her, 6 of them, each wearing dresses that cost more than some people's cars, each looking at the boy standing frozen near the punch table with expressions that range from amusement to disgust to something worse than either, complete and total dismissal. The boy's name is Elijah Monroe. He is 17 years old. He is wearing a suit that belonged to his dead father, a suit that is 12 years old and 1 size too large and has been altered by his mother's hands 3 times to try to make it fit a body that keeps growing, despite the meals that keep shrinking. He is here because he earned a scholarship to Westbrook Academy, one of 4 given each year to students from the public school system who show exceptional promise, and the scholarship includes tuition, but not uniforms and not lunch, and not the unspoken fees of belonging to a world where belonging costs more than money. He is here because he thought, and for one night, that the scholarship might be enough, that the suit might be enough, that he might be enough. He is wrong. Meredith Ashford steps closer to him. Her heels click on the gymnasium floor. The sound is somehow louder than the music, which has faded to a murmur because everyone has stopped dancing to watch, because cruelty is a spectacle, and spectacle is the only entertainment the very rich cannot buy. They must manufacture it themselves. "Look at him," she says, and her voice carries across the gymnasium with the practiced projection of someone who has never had to shout to be heard because people have been listening to her since birth. "Look at his little suit. Is that your grandfather's, Elijah? Did you dig it up?" The laughter comes from everywhere, from the semicircle of girls, from the boys lingering near the DJ booth, from the chaperones who should intervene and do not, because the chaperones know whose parents fund the school and whose parents clean the school, and there is a difference. There has always been a difference, and that difference does not end when the students put on formal wear. Elijah Monroe stands very still. He does not run. He does not cry. He does not give Meredith Ashford the satisfaction of seeing him break, because breaking is what she wants. Breaking is the point. Breaking would confirm every assumption she has made about him since the day he arrived at Westbrook Academy with his second-hand backpack and his free lunch card and his quiet, unbending refusal to apologize for existing. He looks at her, saying he looks at her dress that costs $4,000 and her shoes that cost $800 and her earrings that are worth more than his mother makes in 6 months. And he says nothing. He simply turns and walks toward the door. Behind him, Meredith's voice follows like a blade. "That is right," she calls. "Go back to wherever you came from." But before Elijah reaches the door, he stops. He turns. He looks at Meredith Ashford one more time, and something in his eyes makes her laughter falter for just a moment, just a fraction of a second, a flicker of uncertainty that she will not remember and he will never forget. 14 years later, he will walk into her office. He will sit down across from her desk, and she will not recognize him at first, not until he says her name, not until he reminds her of this night, of this gymnasium, yet of this suit that belonged to his dead father. But we are not there yet. First, we need to go back before the dance, back before the scholarship, back to a kitchen where a mother and a son are counting coins on a table because coins are all they have left and the rent is due on the first. Gloria Monroe works 2 jobs. She has worked 2 jobs for 11 years, ever since her husband David died in an accident at the warehouse, where he spent 16 hours a day loading boxes for a company that did not bother to fix the forklift that crushed him. She received a settlement after 18 months of legal battles, $47,000. It sounds like a lot of money when you have never had money. It is not a lot of money. It paid off the medical bills from the 3 days David spent in the ICU before his organs failed. It paid for the funeral. It paid for 3 months of rent while Gloria learned to survive alone. And then it was gone. Every penny vanished into the machinery of American poverty, where money enters and disappears like water into sand. She works at a hotel downtown from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, cleaning rooms that cost more per night than she earns in a week. She works at a grocery store from 4 in the afternoon until midnight, standing on feet that ache and swell and have not been to a doctor in 4 years because doctors cost money and money is time, and time is everything she does not have. Elijah is 6 years old when his father dies. He does not understand death, not really, not the permanence of it. He waits by the window for 3 weeks. He's watching for his father's truck to pull into the driveway the way it always did, every day, without fail. When the truck does not come, when it never comes, he stops waiting. He learns, earlier than any child should learn, that waiting is a luxury for people whose waiting gets rewarded. He is 7 when he starts helping his mother. Small things at first, folding laundry, washing dishes, learning to make rice and beans because rice and beans are cheap and filling, and you can eat them for 5 days straight if you add different seasonings. By the time he is 10, he is doing the grocery shopping, calculating prices per ounce, knowing exactly how much food stamps will cover and exactly what they will not. He is 12 when he discovers the library, not school libraries, which are fine but limited, but the public library downtown, and the one with 3 floors and 1 million books and computers you can use for free if you sign up for a card that costs nothing. He signs up, he starts reading, he reads everything: history, science, business, biography, anything with words and ideas and the promise that the world is larger than the 4 walls of the apartment where the ceiling leaks when it rains and the heat cuts out every February because the landlord knows they cannot afford to move. He reads about people who started with nothing and built empires. He reads about Thomas Edison, who was called stupid by his teachers. He reads about Oprah Winfrey, who grew up in poverty so extreme it makes his look comfortable. He reads about Andrew Carnegie, who came to America with nothing and died one of the richest men in the world. He does not read these stories for inspiration, but he reads them for instruction. He studies the patterns. He takes notes in a composition book that he fills from front to back. What worked, what failed, what mattered, what was luck, and what was preparation. By the time he is 14, he has filled 7 composition books. By the time he is 17, standing in a gymnasium in his dead father's suit while a rich girl mocks him for the crime of existing, he has filled 19. He knows more about business, about economics, about the mechanisms of wealth creation than most MBA students at prestigious universities. He knows it because he studied it like his life depended on it, because his life does depend on it, because he made himself a promise the day his father died, standing by that window, watching for a truck that would never come. He would never be poor again. He would never let his mother count coins again. He would build something so large and so permanent that no one could ever take it away from him. The scholarship to Westbrook Academy is a miracle and a curse. Elijah scores in the 99th percentile on the entrance examination, higher than any scholarship applicant in the school's history, higher than most of the legacy students whose families have been attending for generations. The admissions committee reviews his application with skepticism. A public school student from the South Side, raised by a single mother, no connections, no pedigree, nothing but raw scores, and a personal essay that makes 3 of the committee members cry, though they will never admit this. He is admitted. He receives the Founder's Scholarship, site which covers tuition in full, $47,000 per year. The irony of the number is not lost on him. The exact amount his mother received when his father died, the exact amount that disappeared in months, now renewed annually, in exchange for his presence in hallways where he does not belong. The scholarship does not cover uniforms. Gloria Monroe works extra shifts for 2 months to buy him 3 sets, $240 per set, $720 total, money that should have gone to the electric bill, money that creates a hole they will spend the next year trying to fill. The scholarship does not cover lunch. Elijah applies for the free lunch program, which exists at Westbrook Academy but is used by exactly 4 students, and now 5. The other students know. They always know. We and the lunch ladies hand out special cards to the free lunch students, different colored cards, and someone notices, someone always notices, and the word spreads through the junior class in 3 days. Monroe is on welfare. He is not on welfare. His mother makes too much money for welfare and too little money for anything else. The particular cruelty of the American poverty line where you are too poor to live and too rich to get help. But the details do not matter. The card is blue instead of white. The card tells everyone what they need to know. Meredith Ashford is in his calculus class. She is not good at calculus. She does not need to be good at anything. Her future is secured by trust funds and family connections and the inviolable truth that wealth protects itself across generations. Mike, she notices Elijah on the first day of class because he answers a question that stumps everyone else. A question about derivatives that the teacher throws out as a challenge, expecting silence. Elijah answers in 9 seconds. He shows his work on the board. The teacher stares at him with something that might be respect, but is probably just surprise. The surprise of seeing a fish climb a tree. After class, Meredith blocks his path in the hallway. She has 3 friends with her. They are always in 3s or 4s, these girls, moving in formations like military units. "I heard you are a scholarship kid," she says. Her voice is sweet and her eyes are not. "Where do you live?" He tells her the neighborhood. She has never heard of it. She pulls out her phone, searches the address, and her face changes into something he will remember for years. Show the particular expression of someone encountering poverty for the first time and finding it not sad, but disgusting. "Oh," she says, and she walks away. He does not exist to her after that. He is furniture. He is less than furniture. For 2 years, he moves through Westbrook Academy like a ghost, present but invisible, achieving perfect grades that no one acknowledges, solving problems that no one cares about, building a mind that no one at this school will ever respect, because respect at Westbrook Academy is not earned, it is inherited. And then comes the spring formal. The spring formal is mandatory for juniors. Attendance is required. It says so in the student handbook, and Elijah has read the student handbook 3 times because he reads everything and because he needs to know the rules of a game everyone else learned at birth. Wow, he does not want to go. He knows what will happen. He knows that a gymnasium full of wealth is a gymnasium full of danger for someone like him, someone who cannot hide his poverty no matter how carefully he walks or talks or dresses. But the handbook says attendance is mandatory, and the penalty for unexcused absence is academic probation. And academic probation threatens the scholarship. And the scholarship is everything. The scholarship is his mother's extra shifts, and his father's death, and the promise he made to himself standing by that window 14 years ago. So, he will go. His mother finds the suit in the back of the closet, sealed in plastic, untouched since the funeral. David Monroe was buried in his work clothes, not this suit, because Gloria wanted him to rest the way he lived, not pretending to be something he was not. And the suit has hung in the closet for 11 years. It is navy blue, conservative, the kind of suit a man buys once and wears to every wedding and funeral and job interview for the rest of his life. It does not fit Elijah. He is taller than his father was, narrower in the shoulders, longer in the arms. Gloria spends 3 nights altering it, working by the dim light of a single lamp because the overhead fixture burned out and replacement bulbs cost money. She takes in the waist. She lets out the hem. She does everything she can with thread and determination and love that cannot fix what is fundamentally broken. The suit is old and wrong, and everyone will know. On the night of the dance, Elijah looks at himself in the bathroom mirror. The suit hangs on him like a memory of someone else. The shoulders slope. The lapels are too wide, show the style of a decade that has passed. He looks like a boy wearing his father's clothes because that is exactly what he is. His mother stands behind him. She sees what he sees. She wants to tell him that it does not matter, that clothes do not make the man, that character is what counts. She knows these things are lies. She knows that the world judges on appearance first and substance never. She knows that her son is about to walk into a room full of people who will see exactly what she sees. A poor boy pretending. "I am sorry," she says. "It is all we have." He turns from the mirror. He hugs her. He smells the lavender lotion she still uses because small things matter, because dignity lives in the details. "It is perfect," he says. He is lying for her sake. She knows he is lying. She lets him lie because sometimes love means allowing the lie. He takes the bus to the dance. It costs $2.25. He could walk and save the money, but walking would take 40 minutes and he would arrive sweaty, and that would be worse than arriving poor. The bus drops him 3 blocks from the school. He walks the rest of the way in shoes that belonged to his father, polished that morning with a rag and hope. Hope that is already dying as he approaches the gymnasium and sees the cars in the parking lot. Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, a Ferrari that belongs to someone's father or someone's older brother, a fleet of wealth announcing itself in chrome and paint. He walks through the double doors. He enters the gymnasium. The music is loud. The lights are low. The decorations are elaborate, professional. Say, the work of a company that charges more for one dance than his mother earns in a month. And across the room, standing with her friends wearing a dress that costs $4,000, Meredith Ashford sees him. She smiles. It is not a kind smile. It is the smile of someone who has found entertainment. She walks toward him. The moment lasts 90 seconds. He will replay it in his mind for years, analyzing every frame, every word, every beat of his heart that felt like a drum counting down to detonation. She walks toward him with her friends behind her. She stops 3 feet away. She looks at his suit. She looks at his shoes. She looks at his face and finds nothing there worth looking at. "You came," she says. "I did not think you would actually come." He says nothing. Her smile widens. "What are you wearing? Is that your father's suit?" He still says nothing. She steps closer. The smell of her perfume is overwhelming, expensive, the kind of scent that announces itself from across a room. She reaches out and touches his lapel, running her finger along the fabric with an expression of theatrical disgust. "This is vintage," she says to her friends, and by vintage, I mean garbage. The laughter comes. It always comes. She feeds on it the way other people feed on food. It sustains her, this cruelty, in ways that money alone cannot. Elijah watches her. He watches the way her mouth forms words designed to wound. He watches the way her eyes scan for weakness, for cracks, for the breaking point that will give her the satisfaction she craves. He does not give it to her. He has learned to survive things worse than words. He has buried a father. He has watched his mother cry over coins. He has gone to bed hungry so many times that hunger has become a companion, familiar as breathing. What can this girl do to him that the world has not already done? But there is a difference between enduring and not feeling. He feels it. He feels every word like a blade. He feels the laughter of strangers pressing against him from all directions. He feels the weight of his father's suit on his shoulders, the suit that was supposed to be enough, that was supposed to let him pass through this world for one night without being noticed, without being targeted. It was not enough. It is never enough. Meredith leans closer. Her voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries across the room because she has practiced this, perfected it, the art of public humiliation, delivered in the intimate register of a secret. "Go back to wherever you came from. Yacht," she says. "You do not belong here. You will never belong anywhere." He turns. He walks toward the door. He hears her voice behind him, raised now for everyone to enjoy. "That is right. Run." But he does not run. He walks. He walks with his spine straight and his eyes forward, and every step measured and deliberate, because he will not give her the satisfaction. He will not let her see him break. He will save the breaking for later, for the privacy of his bedroom, where no one can witness the cost of this night. At the door, he stops. He turns. He looks at Meredith Ashford. She is laughing. They are all laughing. But for just a moment, something in his gaze makes her falter. Something cold and certain. Something that does not belong on the face of a boy in his dead father's suit. She looks away first. He walks out. The door closes behind him with a sound like a period at the end of a sentence. The chapter is over, but the book is just beginning. He does not go home. He cannot face his mother, not yet, not with the shame still fresh on his skin like a burn. He walks instead, following streets that lead nowhere, passing houses that grow smaller and shabbier the farther he travels from Westbrook Academy. He walks for 3 hours. His feet blister inside his father's shoes. He does not care. He walks until he reaches the river, the industrial stretch where factories used to operate before the jobs went overseas and the buildings went dark and the neighborhood became another collection of ruins in a city full of them. He sits on a concrete barrier and stares at the water. It is not beautiful. Nothing about this city is beautiful, not this part of it. Well, it's not the part where people like him are allowed to exist. He thinks about his father. He thinks about the forklift that was supposed to be repaired 2 months before the accident, the work orders that were ignored, the cost-benefit analysis that concluded a human life was worth less than the expense of fixing a machine. He thinks about his mother's hands, cracked and dry, working 2 jobs to keep him in a school where he is treated like garbage in an ill-fitting suit. He thinks about every book he has read, every note he has taken, every pattern he has studied, about how wealth is created and destroyed and passed from generation to generation like a genetic trait, like something you are born with or born without, like something you cannot earn no matter how hard you try. And then he stops thinking about all of it. He reaches into his pocket. He pulls out the composition book he carries everywhere, the 20th in a series that stretches back to his 12th year. He opens it to a blank page. He writes, "Things will change. I will change them." He does not know how. He does not know when. But he knows, with a certainty that comes from somewhere deeper than logic, that Meredith Ashford was wrong about everything, except one thing. He does not belong at Westbrook Academy. He does not belong in her world, but he will build a world where she does not belong in his. He walks home. It is past midnight when he arrives. His mother is asleep on the couch, still in her work clothes, waiting for him the way she always waits, even when the waiting means she will be exhausted tomorrow and the day after and every day until the exhaustion catches up and demands payment. He covers her with a blanket. He goes to his room. He lies in bed with his eyes open, staring at the ceiling where the water stains form patterns he has memorized over 17 years. He does not sleep. He plans. The next morning, he goes back to Westbrook Academy. He goes to every class. He takes every test. He answers every question. He achieves the highest GPA in the junior class, then the senior class, then the entire history of the scholarship program. He graduates valedictorian. He gives a speech that mentions no one by name, that thanks no one by title, saying that simply states his intention to build something that matters and invites anyone who doubted him to watch. Meredith Ashford is in the audience. She is on her phone the entire time. She does not listen. She will not remember the speech. She will not remember him at all, not for years, not until the day he walks into her office and reminds her. The years after graduation move fast. Elijah attends State University on a full scholarship, the same university where Meredith Ashford will fail out after 2 semesters, though he does not know this yet. He studies computer science and business administration simultaneously, double majoring while working 30 hours a week at a tech support job that pays $11 an hour and teaches him more about customer pain points than any business class ever could. He graduates in 3 years, though he has a job offer from a major tech company, $78,000 a year, benefits, stock options, the kind of entry-level position that most computer science graduates would kill for. He turns it down. He moves back into his mother's apartment. He tells her he needs 6 months and he needs the rent money he would otherwise spend on his own place. She does not understand, but she trusts him because she has always trusted him, even when trusting him made no sense, even when the gap between his ambitions and his circumstances seemed impossible to bridge. He works 18 hours a day. He builds a software platform that solves a problem no one else has thought to solve: the logistics of last-mile delivery in underserved neighborhoods. The places where major carriers charge extra fees or refuse to deliver at all because the economics do not work for them. He knows these neighborhoods because he grew up in them. He knows the pain because he lived it. His mother once ordered medicine from an online pharmacy and paid $17 for shipping, more than the medication itself cost, because no delivery service wanted to drive to their zip code. He remembers this. He builds a solution. The first version is terrible. The second version is worse. The third version works, but no one uses it. The fourth version attracts 3 small businesses who are willing to try something new because they are desperate, and desperation creates opportunity. By month 5, he has 12 clients. By month 6, he has 43. By month 8, he has a meeting with a venture capital firm that has heard about his platform from one of those desperate small businesses, which is now a thriving medium business, which cannot stop talking about the software that changed their delivery operations. The venture capitalist is named Victoria Chen. She is 42 years old, former Goldman Sachs, current partner at Horizon Ventures, and she does not invest in companies. She invests in people. She meets Elijah in a coffee shop because he cannot afford to fly to her office in San Francisco, and she respects that, respects the hustle, respects the refusal to spend money he does not have on appearances he does not need. She listens to his pitch for 7 minutes. She asks 3 questions. She writes a check for $250,000, and the first check she has written in 4 years for a company with no revenue history and no proven market fit. She will later say it was the easiest decision she ever made. She will later say she knew from the first sentence of his pitch that Elijah Monroe was going to change the industry. She was right. Within 18 months, the company is worth $12 million. Within 3 years, it is worth $80 million. Within 5 years, it is worth $300 million. And Elijah Monroe is on the cover of business magazines, profiled in newspapers, invited to speak at conferences where the other speakers are CEOs of companies 100 times his size. He is 30 years old. He has more money than Meredith Ashford's family ever had, though he does not think about her, not consciously, not often. He has moved his mother into a house, a real house, with a yard and a garden and rooms she does not know what to do with because she has never had rooms before. She has only had spaces. He has paid off every debt she ever carried. He has set up a foundation in his father's name that funds workplace safety programs in warehouses across the country, programs that have prevented an estimated 417 accidents in their first 3 years of operation. He has built something. He has kept his promise. And then, on a Tuesday morning in March, his assistant brings him a folder containing information about a company he is considering acquiring. The company is small, struggling, hemorrhaging money, despite a solid product, because the management is incompetent and the leadership is absent. The company is called Ashford Media Solutions. The CEO is named Meredith Ashford. She does not recognize him when he walks into her office. This is not surprising. She has not thought about him in 14 years, not since the night of the spring formal, which she barely remembers except as a general blur of dresses and dancing and the vague sense that she was entertaining that evening, though she cannot recall the specifics of her entertainment. Her office is on the 23rd floor of a building downtown, a building her father used to own before the real estate market collapsed and the Ashford family fortune began its slow, inexorable decline. She still has the title of CEO. She still has the salary, $240,000 a year, which sounds like a lot until you consider that it used to be $600,000, and the reduction reflects not fiscal responsibility, but fiscal desperation. She's a company eating itself from the inside. She is 31 years old. She looks older. The years have not been kind in the way that years are never kind to people who assumed kindness was their birthright. Her marriage ended after 3 years when her husband, a private equity analyst, discovered that her family money was an illusion and his lifestyle expectations were not going to be met. Her social circle has contracted with each financial downturn, friends peeling away like layers of an onion when they realized she could no longer reciprocate the invitations, the dinners, the trips, the currency of wealth that stopped flowing when the source dried up. She sits behind her desk. She looks at the man who has just entered. He wears a suit that fits perfectly, tailored, expensive, the kind of suit she once assumed only people like her would ever wear. His shoes are Italian leather. His watch costs more than her car. His presence fills the room in a way that hers no longer does, the presence of someone who belongs because they have earned the right to belong, not because they were handed it at birth. "I am told you are interested in acquiring my company," she says. Her voice is professional, polished, revealing nothing of the fear that has kept her awake for 3 months, the fear of losing everything, the fear of becoming exactly what she always despised, ordinary. He sits down across from her. He places a folder on the desk between them. He looks at her for a long moment without speaking. "I am," he says finally. "But first, I want to ask you a question." She blinks. This is not how acquisitions work. And this is not professional. This is personal somehow, though she cannot understand how or why. "What question?" she asks. "Do you remember me?" She stares at him. She searches his face for something familiar, some feature or expression that will unlock a memory. She finds nothing. "No," she admits. "I do not remember you." "Should I?" He smiles. It is not a cruel smile. It is something else, something she cannot identify, something that makes her uncomfortable in ways she cannot name. "We went to school together," he says. "Westbrook Academy. 14 years ago. I was there on a scholarship." She keeps searching. Westbrook, scholarship. The words trigger nothing. No faces, no names, no memories worth preserving from those years that now feel like someone else's life. "I apologize," she says. "I do not recall." He reaches into his jacket pocket. So he pulls out a photograph, old, worn at the edges, a photograph that has clearly been handled many times over many years. He slides it across the desk. She looks at it. It is a photograph from the spring formal. She recognizes herself immediately, younger, thinner, wearing the $4,000 dress from Milan, laughing at something or someone. She is surrounded by friends whose names she has forgotten, and in the background, walking away, is a boy in an ill-fitting suit. His shoulders are slumped. His head is down. The photograph captures him in the moment of leaving, in the moment after whatever made her laugh. She does not remember this moment. She does not remember this boy. But suddenly, looking at the photograph, she understands. She understands who is sitting across from her. She understands why he is here. No, she understands that the acquisition offer is not about her company at all. The silence stretches. It stretches so long that the air in the room seems to solidify, pressing against them both with a weight that has nothing to do with atmosphere. Meredith looks at the photograph. She looks at the boy walking away. She looks at the man sitting across from her, the same boy, transformed by years and money, and the alchemy of success that turns poor children into powerful adults. She should say something. She knows she should say something. An apology, perhaps. An acknowledgement. Something that bridges the 14 years between that photograph and this moment. But her throat is dry, and her mind is empty, and all she can think about is what this means, what he wants, what he is going to do to her now that he has the power, and she has nothing. When I was young, she says finally. Her voice sounds hollow, even to her own ears. I was stupid. We were all stupid. He does not respond. She tries again. I did not mean what I said. Whatever I said, I do not even remember what I said. This is a lie. She is starting to remember now, fragments floating up from the depths where she buried them. Go back to wherever you came from. You do not belong here. You will never belong anywhere. Words she did not think mattered. Words she did not think would be remembered. Words that were entertainment, nothing more, the casual cruelty of a girl who had never considered that entertainment has a cost, and the cost is always paid by someone. He leans forward. He places his hands on the desk, fingers interlaced, a gesture of patience that somehow communicates more threat than any display of anger could. I remember, he says. I remember every word. I remember the dress you were wearing. I remember the song that was playing. I remember walking out of that gymnasium and spending 3 hours by the river, trying to understand what I had done wrong, what crime I had committed that justified being treated like garbage by a girl who had never worked a day in her life and never would. She flinches. He continues. I want you to understand something, he says. I did not come here for revenge. Revenge would be easy. Revenge would mean walking away, letting your company fail, watching you lose everything the way I almost lost everything that night. He pauses. But I am not here for revenge, he says. I am here to make you an offer. She does not understand. She does not trust it. In her experience, people who have power use it, and people who claim they will not use it are simply waiting for the right moment. What offer, she asks. He opens the folder. Inside are documents, contracts, projections, the paperwork of acquisition laid out in precise order. I am going to buy your company, he says. I am going to pay fair market value, which is more than you deserve, given how badly you have run it into the ground. And I am going to offer you a position in the new structure, not as CEO. You are not qualified to be CEO, but as a consultant, someone who understands the product even if you do not understand how to lead. She stares at the documents. She stares at the numbers. Fair market value is $2.3 million, far less than the company was worth when she took over, far more than anyone else has offered. Far more than it would be worth in 6 months if she continues on her current trajectory. Why, she asks. Her voice is barely a whisper. Why would you do this? He looks at her. He sees the girl who mocked him 14 years ago, the girl who made him feel like nothing, the girl whose cruelty was as casual as breathing. He sees her now, diminished, afraid, sitting in an office that used to belong to her father, in a building her family used to own, in a city where her name used to mean something. He could destroy her. He has the power. He has the money. He has 14 years of remembered pain that would justify anything he wanted to do. But he thinks about his mother. He thinks about the lavender lotion she still uses. He thinks about the way she covered him with a blanket on the night of the dance, knowing he was hurt, or not knowing how to help. He thinks about what his father would have wanted. The man who worked 16 hours a day and never complained. The man who died because someone decided his life was worth less than the cost of fixing a machine. He thinks about the person he wanted to become and the person he has become and whether there is any difference. Because I am not you, he says finally. Because when someone is down, I do not kick them. Because everything I have ever built has been about proving that people like us can be better than people like you ever were. Because I remember what it felt like to be treated like garbage, and I refuse to treat anyone that way, even someone who deserves it. She does not cry. She wants to, feels the pressure building behind her eyes. But she has trained herself not to cry in professional settings because crying is weakness, and weakness is death in the world she used to inhabit. She looks at the documents. She looks at the numbers. She looks at the man who has every reason to destroy her and is choosing not to. I do not understand, she says. People do not do this. People take revenge. People settle scores. People prove that they were right all along. He stands up. He walks to the window. The city spreads out below them, the same city he used to walk through as a child, counting coins for bus fare, wearing his father's shoes. I spent 14 years becoming successful, he says. His back is to her. His voice is quiet, but it fills the room. I built a company that employs 2,000 people. I created wealth that will last for generations. I proved you to myself and everyone who doubted me that where you start does not have to be where you end. He turns back to her, but none of it would mean anything if I became the thing I was fighting against. None of it would mean anything if I used my power to hurt people just because I could. I did not escape poverty just to become poor in character. I did not survive your cruelty just to become cruel myself. She is silent. The words settle around her like snow, covering everything, changing the landscape. She thinks about the person she was at 17, the person who mocked a boy for wearing his dead father's suit. She thinks about the person she became in the years after, the person who never thought twice about that night because that night meant nothing to her. She thinks about the person she is now, is sitting in a shrinking office in a failing company, being offered mercy by someone who owes her nothing but harm. I am sorry, she says. The words come out before she can stop them. She is not even sure she means them, not fully, not yet. But they are the first true words she has spoken in this meeting, possibly the first true words she has spoken in years. I know it does not matter. I know it does not change anything. But I am sorry for what I did, for what I said, for not even remembering that I said it. He looks at her for a long moment. He sees the apology. He weighs it. He does not know if it is real or strategic, if she means it, or is simply saying what she thinks he wants to hear. It does not matter. It matters, he says finally. And then he picks up his briefcase and walks toward the door. The documents are yours, and he says over his shoulder, take a week to decide. But Meredith, I want you to understand something. He turns back one final time. This is not forgiveness. I have not forgiven you. I do not know if I ever will. This is something else. This is me refusing to become the person you expected me to become. This is me proving that the boy in the ill-fitting suit was always worth more than you could see. He opens the door. He leaves. The acquisition closes 3 weeks later. Ashford Media Solutions becomes a subsidiary of Monroe Technologies, retaining its brand, but restructured entirely. The bloated management replaced with competent leadership. The bleeding stopped with the surgical precision of experience. Meredith accepts the consulting position. She moves to a smaller office on a lower floor. And she earns $112,000 a year, less than half of what she used to make, more than she deserves given her performance. She shows up every day. She learns things she should have learned years ago about operations and margins and the actual mechanics of running a business, instead of just presiding over one. She does not apologize to Elijah again. The one apology was enough, or it was not enough. Either way, repetition would cheapen it. But she changes. The change is slow, imperceptible at first, a gradual erosion of the assumptions that had calcified in her since birth. She starts arriving early and leaving late. She starts asking questions instead of issuing commands. She starts listening to the employees she used to ignore, watches the administrative assistants and mailroom workers and cleaning staff who move through buildings like ghosts because people like her made them invisible. She does not become a saint. Saints are not made overnight, and some people are never made at all. But she becomes something else, something smaller but realer, a person who is trying. 1 year after the acquisition, she receives a promotion. Not a large one, not CEO, not anything close, but a recognition of her effort, her growth, her willingness to become something she was not born to be. She sends Elijah an email to thank him. He does not respond. She does not expect him to. 2 years after the acquisition, she starts mentoring scholarship students at Westbrook Academy, a program that did not exist when she attended and exists now because she created it, funded it, or insisted on it over the objections of alumni who prefer their charitable activities to be visible and glamorous rather than quiet and useful. She does not talk about the spring formal. She does not talk about the boy in the ill-fitting suit. But she requires every student in her program to attend the dances, and she buys each of them something to wear, something that fits, something that does not announce their poverty to a room full of wealth. It is not atonement. Atonement is not possible for some things, but it is a start. Elijah Monroe is 35 years old when he tells this story for the first time. He is on stage at a conference for young entrepreneurs, a conference where the audience consists of people who remind him of himself, hungry, desperate, doubted by everyone except themselves. Then he has never spoken publicly about the night of the dance. He has never told anyone except his mother, and her only partially, the part she could hear without crying, the sanitized version that protected her from the full weight of what he endured. But tonight, he tells them everything. He tells them about his father's suit. He tells them about Meredith Ashford and her $4,000 dress. He tells them about walking by the river for 3 hours, wanting to give up, deciding not to. He tells them about the composition books, 19 of them filled with notes and plans, and the stubborn refusal to accept that the world as it is must be the world as it remains. When he finishes, the room is silent. He looks out at the faces. Some are crying, some are nodding. See, all are listening with the intensity of people who recognize themselves in someone else's story. And then he says, "The world will tell you that you do not belong. The world will mock you for trying to enter spaces that were not built for you. The world will point at your clothes, your address, your background, every marker of where you came from, and use it as evidence that you cannot go anywhere else. The world is wrong." He pauses. You do not need permission to succeed. You do not need approval from people who have never worked for anything they have. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone except yourself. You need only to refuse to become what they expect you to become. You need only to survive. And if you can survive, if you can keep going when every door is closed and every voice says stop, you will not just succeed. You will build the doors. You will own the buildings. You will become the voice that others hear, and you will use that voice to say something different, something better, something that the world needs to hear, even if it does not want to listen. He steps back from the podium. The applause begins slowly and builds, a wave that crests and breaks and continues, the sound of people who have been seen and understood and told that they matter. He does not bow. He does not wave. He simply stands there, absorbing it, remembering a boy in an ill-fitting suit who walked out of a gymnasium 14 years ago and did not know that he was walking toward everything that mattered. So here is the question that remains. The question that always remains when stories like this are told. What do you do when someone tells you that you do not belong? What do you do when the world laughs at your clothes, your dreams, your audacity to want something more than what you were given? Do you believe them? Do you accept the box they are trying to put you in, the ceiling they are trying to build above your head, the definition of yourself that they have decided without ever asking who you actually are? Or do you refuse? Do you walk out of the gymnasium with your spine straight and your eyes forward, saving the breaking for later, for private, for a moment when no one is watching and you can rebuild yourself from the pieces they tried to scatter? The boy in the ill-fitting suit became the man who owns the building. The girl who mocked him became someone who funds scholarships for students who remind her of everything she used to despise. Neither of them is who they were. Neither of them had to stay frozen in the worst moment of their youth. The moment that could have defined everything if they had let it. They did not let it. The question is whether you will let it. The question is whether the voice in your head that says you do not belong, whether that voice is external or internal, whether it comes from a girl in a $4,000 dress or from your own fear of failure, wins. It does not have to win. You do not have to let it win. Elijah Monroe kept 19 composition books. He filled them with notes about how wealth is created, how empires are built, how the distance between where you start and where you end is measured not in miles, but in refusals. Every entry was a refusal. Every page was a declaration that the world's judgment was wrong, and his own judgment was right, and he would prove it, eventually, inevitably, with the patience of someone who has nothing to lose and everything to build. What are you building? What are you refusing? What promise are you making to yourself right now in this moment about who you are going to become? The answer is not in what happens to you. The answer is in what you do after. The answer is in the walking out and the coming back and the slow, relentless accumulation of proof that you were always more than they could see. The suit does not make the man. The circumstances do not define the outcome. The only thing that matters is whether you keep going. Elijah kept going. The question is whether you will.